I hope everyone can hear me clearly. This special call session of the Board of Trustees of the Spring Independent School District is officially called to order on Tuesday, March 27, 2020. On March 16, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meeting laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus. Accordingly, due to health and safety concerns, as well as the stay-at-home order issued by the county judge of Harris County, this meeting is being conducted by video conference. The time is now 9:04 a.m. Board trustees present: Winfred Adams, Kelly Hodges, Deborah Jensen, Justine Durant, Jana Gonzalez, Dawn Davis, and myself, Rhonda Newhouse. I would like to ask everyone to mute their microphones unless you are speaking. Thank you. For our first item, I would like to recognize our Chief Financial Officer, Ann Westbrook.
Good morning, Ms. Newhouse. Good morning, members of the board and everyone on the call. I believe Dr. Watson wanted to speak on this item at the beginning. If it's okay with you, then I'd ask him to jump on and start the conversation with this first item.
Thank you, Ms. Westbrooks. Good morning, Board of Trustees, and thank you for joining us this morning. We do have two items that we'll be going over today, one of which will be technology request, and the other one will be more information regarding our property insurance that Ms. Westbrook shared at our March meeting. And so the first item is for technology. One of the things that we're going to be doing today is giving you an update as to where we are with technology, specifically to the request. As you know, we did give out a survey this past week, one asking our parents information about child nutrition, and the second part of that survey was about technology in terms of devices that they have at home, as well as internet capability that they have at home. And that information in terms of those two surveys have been sent to you this morning and should be in your box. Mark is going to go over some detailed information with you regarding our technology plan. And then Anne's going to talk a little bit about the financial impact of such a purchase on our students. Some of you know or may not know, as we're moving forward, the state has kind of asked us to look at what we're doing within our school districts in a variety of ways, one of which districts in the state may be closed. Other districts in the states may be closed, but preparing to provide instruction. And then as you move into the next phase of close, providing instruction, meaning that you are providing individualized instruction for all kids, including students with special needs, as well as general education students. We've got to be ready to make sure that we can meet all of our students' needs. As you know, there's a great push for us to begin to continue thinking about our seniors and them meeting all of the state requirements for graduation. And so today we're going to provide you some information that helps us get ready to move from close preparing to close instruction. Close preparing allows us to be able to do what we've done on our website. We provided parents with opportunities that they can help their kids with at home. Teachers are calling students and parents, asking them how they're doing, but they're not providing individualized instruction. And what we're wanting to move to over this next week is getting ready to go into close instructing, where teachers are actually doing that. And so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mark.
Yeah, hi, President Newhouse, members of the board, Dr. Watson. Good to be here, and what a great platform to be able to get together, even though we're still practicing our social distancing, so it's good. I'm going to try to bring up a shared screen, and so we can start talking about where we are with our technology and the requests that we're going to be making today. So the host needs to enable me, apparently. Host has disabled participant screen sharing. Go ahead.
Alrighty. Yeah, I apologize as we try to work through some of these. Let me see how I can do that.
Or Jeremy, if you have the PowerPoint, you can bring it up as well. We didn't make any changes.
Okay, let me do that for right now. And Mark, you'll just have to tell me when
I
to
will.
go to the next slide.
Sure.
Share screen. Okay, can everybody see the PowerPoint there? I think if I start the actual slideshow that it will mess up our Zoom. So I'm going to leave it in this format, and Mark, whenever you're ready,
I'm ready to go on.
go forward.
So let me get, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead to the next slide, Jeremy.
Okay.
All right, so this, let me get my screen to where I can actually see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so wanted to give you an idea of where we stand. You know, thanks to our bond program, we have quite a few Chromebooks, but all of our Chromebooks are currently deployed in Chromebook carts at the various campuses. And so this slide shows you our current Chromebook distribution. Chromebooks are our preferred PC device to be able to put everything on. And so what we have essentially, if you look at the totals at the bottom of this, is we have deployed through the bond about 16,767 Chromebooks district-wide. And those again are in Chromebook carts, not necessarily with students. There are some students at One-Chi and some other schools, but this is specifically the Chromebooks that have been deployed to campuses. And so it's a little bit less than half of our total student population that we currently have Chromebooks deployed to the schools. And so because of the situation we're in, and they're not doing us any good at the schools, we need to get them into the hands of the students. And so Jeremy, if you could move to the next slide. So our plan is to, our IT team has actually been working on this for the last couple of weeks. We're going in and dismantling the Chromebook carts, which is all the power cords and everything that are in those carts. A cart basically holds about 32 Chromebooks in each cart, and they're deployed in the classrooms. Those have to be disassembled. Our IT teams have been doing that. And our plan is to begin distributing the existing Chromebooks, which is about the 16,767 to students. And we're going to be doing that in kind of a phased approach. And the details are still being finalized at this point, but we're going to do that in a priority order, starting with seniors. We know that they're the most critical right now, that have to get all of their credits in place for graduation, and their graduation plans have to be completed. And so we first want to get these out into the hands of our seniors, followed by special ed. As soon as we start that closed instructional, that's going to launch us into having to have all of the accommodations needed for special ed. And so we'll have those being done as well. And another group that's right behind that is our advanced placement individuals that are in those classes. They have to take their test. And so the AP testers would be next in line with that. And then we'll begin rolling those out to the remaining second. We're still working on the details of those plans, and that'll probably be ready to distribute the existing for that group in about a couple of weeks, right? Because we have the survey that's out, that survey is really informing us of who has a device and who doesn't. And so we'll be looking at specifically secondary, but we'll be looking at households, things of that nature, to determine fully who gets the remaining laptops, but it'll primarily be at the secondary level for that. So that'll distribute all of the laptops that we currently have. Again, starting with the seniors, probably sooner rather than later, that would happen, potentially as soon as next week. And then the week after, we'll be distributing additional Chromebooks. Getting those in hand are really key to being able to have that closed instruction. So Jeremy, if you could go to the next slide. once all of those Chromebooks have been distributed, then we no longer have Chromebooks in our schools, in the Chromebook carts at those campus locations. Because at this point, if we come back, because at this point, most if not all of our secondary students will have a district Chromebook, right? The plan at this stage is to then purchase enough Chromebooks to replace the Chromebook carts at the elementary school level. Hopefully that makes sense. And so we have 8,287 currently distributed to elementary schools that are also going to go out to students, as I just mentioned. And so our plan is to replace those Chromebooks in the carts so that the elementary schools, when we do come back into school full time, those Chromebooks will be back into those campuses. And because we know that there's going to be loss and damage on this, we're also asking for about 20% of that number, of that 8,000 number, to keep in our spare inventory, because we know Chromebooks are going to get lost or damaged or otherwise need to be replaced. And so you can see at the bottom here, which is the ask in the, did someone have a question? Okay. You see at the bottom here, which is the ask in the, go ahead if someone has a question. I don't know if I'm getting a question. Okay. So you see at the bottom here on this, it shows you the number of Chromebook carts that we're going to be asking for. And then it includes power, additional power. It includes all of the setup from the vendor that has to do configurations and setting up for those things, and then the Chromebook cases, right? And so as Dr. Watson mentioned that we have, that we're moving towards closed instructional, I wanted to let you know too that we also have a continuity plan for being able to get to that closed instruction. There's even a principals meeting that's happening as we speak, where they're going over the continuity plan with the principals to be able to get us from this closed kind of supporting mode that we're in right now to that closed instructional, where we can actually start having future instruction going forward. And so we have an entire phased plan for that. Thankfully, TEA gave us some guidelines a couple of weeks ago. And so we're really leveraging those TEA guidelines so that we can move forward into that area. But this is the PowerPoint for our plan for the Chromebook carts. And Jeremy, I think that's it on the PowerPoint, and I can entertain questions at this point.
Mark, this is Jana Gonzalez. I do have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have a screen in front of me because I'm actually driving. I do have a question as, are we going to be able to order these? I know with my job, we're having trouble finding laptops and extra electronics with everything going on. Have we checked to see if these are readily available to us? And if so, how long is that going to take to get to us? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So our vendor right now is telling us that it's a 45-day lead time from PO.
Okay. Okay.
So this likely, with that lead time, you know, if we were to order these as soon as possible, these are things that we're going to look to probably be in place, you know, obviously after 45 days. So I'm not sure of the immediate impact, but it's definitely looking forward. We are fearful that if we wait longer, that lead time could expand.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Chief Miranda, do you have right now a protocol for how we're distributing the current Chromebooks?
Yeah, so the current Chromebooks have not yet been distributed. They will be distributed again in that priority order with the seniors first and then going forward. But in terms of one of the neat things, and Ann's on the line as well, is that we have been tagging all of our assets. And so our assets are barcode tagged, and we'll be able to track those assets as they go out so that we'll know where they are. And when they come back in, we'll know when they come back in. Technology has an entire detailed plan on that part of the distribution. And then the physical part of handing the laptops out, we're working out with those high school principals. They're getting some of this information today in their own principals meeting, and then we'll be getting together to work on the logistics with all the social distancing and things. The logistics are really going to be key in being able to get those out, because it's going to be a massive undertaking with that many laptops to be able to distribute.
So this is Justine. I lost audio for a moment, so my apologies if you've already answered this question. I know we did the survey to assess needs, so kind of piggybacking on Trustee Adams' question, once we get the seniors done, will we be factoring in the results from our survey?
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're finding so far on the survey, and I think Dr. Watson sent that out, is of the people who participated in the survey, more people than we anticipated appear to have devices and access, right? But part of that is the number of participants on the survey, right? So if you don't have device or access, then it might be unlikely that you were able to participate even in the survey, right? And so we're having to weigh some of that. One of the things that we're looking at is if we're targeting some of the secondary students, how many of those secondary students have siblings in elementary school? And there's a possibility that we can target households as opposed to just necessarily individuals. And so we're looking at that and using the results of the survey for that. The survey actually, we're getting updates on the survey on a daily basis, but it actually closes today. So we'll have the final results from that survey later on today.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure after the seniors, we got to our students that did not have access today. Thank you.
Mark, question for you, or maybe Ann or Dr. Watson. The material that we are sending out to our students, I know we would like for them to use a Chromebook, but let's say the middle school or elementary, if they don't have a Chromebook, my understanding is that they're still able to use a cell phone to pull up this curriculum or information. So it's not that they would be unable to receive any information.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they can use a Chrome. If they don't have a Chromebook or a laptop at home, they can use their cell phone, smartphone, iPads, Kindles. They can also use their PS4s. It works on a PS4 game system at home and an Xbox One game system at home. And for individuals that don't have that, at all of our food sites every day, we're passing out packets as well. So the same information, we've been handing out elementary, middle, and high school packets to families when they pick up their meals as well.
Thank you.
I'd like to just piggyback on that for just a second. The school district has an app, and you are able through the app to get to the link for the Empowered Learning at Home website. And so that's a really good way for parents to be able to get to that. And a lot of our folks have access to that app as well. And you can definitely do that on your cell phone. And we're trying to target the instructional materials that are even going forward in development with that in mind, that because of the limited number of access points, that we're going to try to make it device agnostic so it could work on any device. And so that's part of the goal of the instructional continuity plan, is to be able to do that as much as possible. Some of our platforms, unfortunately, don't render as well on the cell phone. And so we have that in mind, and we do want to make as many options as possible to be able to work on a cell phone as well.
Right. One of the other things that I really wanted just to make sure everyone understands, the big change that we're asking is to go from closed preparing to closed instructing. So if you hear from various community members who are wondering why their individual teacher isn't teaching their class and providing individualized instruction, we have gotten waivers for everything but from special ed, which is fine. So we've got to make sure that once we go from closed preparing to close instructing, we've got to make sure all of our students that need accommodations, they have those laptops, because should we start providing instruction to general ed students and we don't have accommodations ready for our students with special needs, that's a huge federal problem for for spring in any other district. And so we are ready to make that change. So teachers, they're chomping at the bit to start working with their students, but we've got to make sure we get those, get that technology to them so we're not in any violation of federal guidelines.
I will say that I have heard from several of my children's teachers, and they echo what Rodney just said, that they are working on sort of beginning instruction to their classrooms and to their students. So I'm looking forward to that. This has been a very difficult time for the kids in terms of me and their mother driving instruction.
Debbie Jensen here. I just want to be assured that the teachers all have the equipment to communicate with students on all these different platforms.
So yeah, so we have allowed our teachers to come to the buildings twice to get all of their technology equipment. So they all have laptops because the district provides all the teachers laptops. Ms. Bradford, a week or two ago, started providing some online training teachers how to get into the systems. But one good thing is that several of the systems, meaning the instructional systems that we have, teachers have had those all year. And so what they'll be doing is going into those online systems and assigning work for kids to be able to do through technology. Kids can do that at home and then send that back electronically. The area that many districts have not worked out yet is for those individuals that get paper packets, how will grading occur? We are looking at things like kids being able to take pictures and send them back. We've been looking at districts around the country have been looking at finding out ways that kids can mail them back. Those are unanswered questions that we're going to continue to work through. But the good thing about it is you all have already approved technology systems that with our Schoology for us to be able to use to get information to students.
Rodney, do we have a plan for teachers to be able to come back to the schools in the future, especially after they had a week or so with our students or instruction?
Yeah, well, yes, we do have a plan. We've already implemented that twice. And so we've already had students come, teachers come back the first time to get needed items from their classrooms. Then this past Saturday, we allowed teachers to come back again and get more the needed items that they had. We asked them to make sure they took everything that they needed, so they have it. We also allowed, in an organized fashion, students to come back and get, like, especially at the high school level, they needed their instruments to be able to have the practice at home and to do things of that nature. And so yes, Mark's team and Dr. Hinojosa's team has been extremely helpful with getting the teachers and administrators in to get all of the supplies they need so they can start providing individualized instruction from home.
And Dr. Watson, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you send an email out last week regarding that process and with the dates, times, and locations for that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Matter of fact, Saturday, Mark and I rode by 37 of the 40 schools and checked on them, and they all were very organized, keeping their social distance, and everything was done perfect.
So this is Justine. I just want to say I've been on the website quite a bit, looking at the materials, watching all the activities on Twitter, and I want to commend Spring ISD. I'm very proud of how you've been managing everything and how we're getting the information out to our kids. So great job.
Thank you.
Debbie Jensen here. I get a triplicate view of this because I have a daughter teaching in Sci-Fair. I have grandchildren who go to Klein and grandchildren who go to Spring. And universally, they all complain about, is it called Edgenuity?
Yes. It's called
they say that the videos are just awful. Is this a system that's provided by the state of Texas? How did all the school districts get into Edgenuity?
So Edgenuity is a system that we've had, many districts have had success with it. They primarily have used it for credit recovery or course completion for individuals that have not been able to complete their courses. And so from that standpoint, it provides students opportunities to work at their own pace over the course of a semester, or half a semester, or a specific time frame to earn those credits. And they do offer that in mostly all of the core areas. And so we definitely see this as a benefit for seniors to be able to complete their credits for the remainder of the year. Most districts have not used Edgenuity to be the one and only online system to provide all the instruction for the normal course of the year. As I said earlier, we've seen success with it for our seniors that are needing course completion, attendance. They've either because of attendance issues or because of not passed a particular course or passed a particular section of a course, they've been able to go back and to redo that. I think what you may be hearing is just the sheer frustration of individuals that are having to do it for all of their courses because it's not a teacher in front of them. It's a pretty rigorous system, but it's pretty standard and cut and dry in terms of here's the content, you're learning it, and you're going to be assessed on it throughout the process. But we look at it as one method, not the only method.
Rodney, I appreciate that our teachers have had an opportunity to go into the schools to get what they needed. But after teaching a couple of weeks, working with students a couple of weeks, I think we should set up an additional time for them to go back into the schools. If you're going in on a call like that quickly, you don't get everything that you may need or don't realize that what you may need at that time that you go in. So by this time, maybe they are realizing they may need something else in their building that they could use in working with students from home. So let's think about scheduling an additional time for them to come in the future.
Sounds good.
I'd just like to make a comment that I think that education has been evolving into more and more virtual learning. And suddenly we've hit circumstances where we are having to change extremely rapidly to survive. And so this is a bad thing in many ways, but I think it's a very good thing. I just loved hear the exchange of ideas between districts and some of the creative things that our teachers, our school district, and even our state are coming up with. So I'm trying to see this as something that is both good and bad.
Okay. Anne, would you like to talk about the financing part of this?
Of course. So each year during the budget process, when we're going through our comprehensive annual financial report and all throughout the year, we discuss quite frequently the importance of having a healthy fund balance. And through our prudent budgeting and our prudent spending, we have just that. We do have a healthy fund balance. And we know the district's fund balance is the equivalent of the state's rainy day fund. And so figuratively, it's raining. And this would be an absolute great use of the district's fund balance. And so what we're anticipating doing is purchasing these items using the general fund balance. And that $5 million makes up about 4% of the fund balance that we had as of June 30th, 2019. So it's a small part of the district's total fund balance. Now, there's a highly likelihood that we will receive some form of reimbursement for these costs, whether it's from FEMA or through some other federal or state grant. However, that's not guaranteed. So we're going into it with our eyes wide open, knowing that we're anticipating paying for these ourselves out of the district's fund balance. And if we receive reimbursement, then that's just great. So what we're doing is we would track these expenditures separately so that we can easily account for them if and when the opportunity presents itself for us to receive reimbursement. So I say all of that to say that we're in a good place financially to take on this expenditure so we can support our students and the situation that we find ourselves in right now.
Thank you, Ms. Westbrooks. I have always trusted you for wonderful effectiveness as our Director of Finances. And this is wonderful news.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So if there are no further questions or if there's no additional discussion, then at this point in time, I think it's a fair time to ask for a vote for the permission from the board to go forward with purchasing the technology equipment that's needed with an amount not to exceed $5 million.
Thank you, Ms. Westbrooks. I will now entertain a motion that the Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent to purchase technology and instructional resources for the purpose of continuing student learning during this extended disruption to the district operations in an amount not to exceed $5 million.
Madam President, I move that the Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent to purchase technology and instructional resources for the purpose of continuing student learning during this extended disruption to district operations in an amount not to exceed $5 million.
Do I have a second?
Second, Jana Gonzalez.
Thank you. It has been moved by Winfred Adams, second by Jana Gonzalez, that the Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent to purchase technology and instructional resources for the purpose of continuing student learning during this extended disruption to district operations in an amount not to exceed $5 million. All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
President Newhouse, this is Jeremy. I apologize, sorry. I would recommend that we poll each trustee because we're on video, just so that we can ensure that we have an accurate record of the vote.
Thank you, because I was about to ask you if you would pull up the screen so that I could see the others as well. Thank you. So I'll begin with Winfred Adams.
I vote aye.
Kelly Hodges.
Aye.
Deborah Jensen.
Aye.
Justine Durant.
Aye.
Jana Gonzalez.
Aye.
Dawn Davis.
Aye.
And myself, Rhonda Newhouse, aye. This motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Ms. Westbrooks, will you present information regarding the property insurance renewal?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Newhouse. We wanted to circle back to the board and seek approval to move forward with renewing our property insurance. If you recall, it seems so long ago, but on March 5th, we had a presentation from Tim Killeen with Frost Insurance. He came out to speak to the board about the impact of all of the weather events that we've had over the last couple of years and how that's impacting our insurance cost going forward. And so we gave the opportunity to ask any additional questions, but we wanted to make sure that we came back with the finalized recommendation for the board. And you've been provided a copy of the full proposal as well as the spreadsheet that shows the total cost and the comparison. And so what we're bringing forward this morning for the board to vote on is the proposed going forward with option 1C. And so the primary difference between option 1 and option 2 is the change in the way that the out-of-pocket costs would be impacted for the district. So in the past, if you recall, we had a $2.5 million maximum out-of-pocket cost. With this one, we would have a 2% cost with a maximum of $5 million. And so that's the option that we're bringing forward for the board to vote on. And so that cost, total all-in cost for that, the premium associated with that option 1C would be $4,126,490, which unfortunately is about a 70% increase in our total premium cost as compared to this current year's, the expiring coverage. But we wanted to make sure that we brought that recommendation back to the board and receive your your permission going forward, your approval going forward. And we do have Mr. Tim Colleen on the line with Frost Insurance if there are any remaining questions related to the policy that we presented to the board as a recommendation.
Do we have any questions?
It appears to me that option 1C is the one that really gives us, let's say, the lowest cost and the most benefit to me. I'm still appalled at how much the insurance costs. So in the future, is there any way that we can band together with other school districts or something like that? I would love to explore that topic as well, but not for now.
Yes, ma'am. And we will certainly look at any ways possible, any opportunities that we have to lower our costs going forward. And I also wanted to mention that part of the reason why we're seeing such a huge increase in 1 year is because we did get into the market very early last year. And so we didn't get that incremental increase last year. So we're taking on the full increase in 1 year, as opposed to some districts saw about a 35 to 40% increase last year. And then again, another 35 to 40%. For us, we're getting it one hit at one time. So it is unfortunate, but we had that one good year that we can look back to. So yes, sir.
So can you remind me, how long is the term for this policy?
It's 1 year. Our policy runs from April 1st to April 1st.
So we'll be doing this again next year.
Yes, sir.
So I just, when this comes up next year, I'd love it when you do your presentation to see a longitudinal chart tracking what the insurance rates have looked like for at least the last 5 years, maybe even the last 10 years.
Yes, sir. And that's something we can get for you now, well, not right this moment, but over the next week or so, we can compile that information and have that for you just for presentation purposes.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion that the Board of Trustees approve the purchase of property insurance, specifically option 1C, as presented by the administration.
Trustee Justine Durant seconds that motion.
I need you to make the motion, Justine.
My apologies. I move that the Board of Trustees accept and approve the property insurance, specifically 1C.
Second.
Do I have?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Justine Durant, second by Donald Davis, that the Board of Trustees approve the purchase of property insurance, specifically option 1C, as presented by the administration. I will now call out each of you for a verbal commitment. So I will begin with Winfred Adams.
Aye.
Kelly Hodges. Kelly Hodges.
Aye.
Deborah Jensen.
Aye.
Justine Durant.
Aye.
Jana Gonzalez.
Aye.
Donald Davis.
Aye.
Rhonda Newhouse, myself, aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for coming on with us this morning to help us be able to continue to conduct district business. Dr. Watson, is there anything else that you may need?
Not at this time.
Okay. Seeing as how there's no other items on today's agenda, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting. Winfred Adams? I'm sorry. I need a motion first.
I move adjournment.
I second Jana Gonzalez.
Thank you. It's been moved by Winfred Adams, second by Jana Gonzalez, that the Board of Trustees adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, Winfred Adams,
Aye.
Kelly Hodges,
Aye.
Deborah Jensen,
Aye.
Justine Durant,
Aye.
Jana Gonzalez,
Aye.
Dawn Davis,
Aye.
and Rhonda Newhouse. Aye. The motion carries unanimously. There is no further business, and this meeting is officially adjourned at 9:44 a.m. Thank you, everyone, and please continue to be safe.